Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to a weekend edition of NoDQ&A video right here on NoDQ.com, as well as the YouTube channel and NoDQ&A videos affiliate, ringsidenews.com. There is some breaking news as I'm doing this video today. Brock Lesnar has potentially violated the USADA's anti-doping policy, and this could have some very serious consequences. This could be the end of Brock Lesnar's UFC career and could affect his WWE career. This is a breaking story, of course, so make sure you stay tuned to NoDQ.com. WWE has not publicly commented on this as of this video, but NoDQ.com will keep you updated with the very latest. Now, I'm already getting questions regarding this Brock Lesnar story. This one from Marcus S. Do you think the WWE will suspend Brock Lesnar under its wellness policy for failing this drug test? This is really interesting because Billy Gunn, if some of you remember, he had violated a policy outside of WWE, and WWE just flat out released him from the company. Now, Brock Lesnar is Brock Lesnar. Will WWE punish him? It's quite possible they'll suspend him, even though a suspension doesn't even make sense since Brock Lesnar rarely appears on television. And what makes matters worse is that WWE just announced the SummerSlam match with Randy Orton, and Brock Lesnar is expected to be on the live SmackDown for the draft. Very interesting how WWE is going to handle this, and I'm not sure. I mean, I suppose if Brock Lesnar was indeed in violation of the USADA policy, WWE could suspend him for 30 days right after SmackDown, and then he'll be back in time for SummerSlam. Maybe they could shoot an angle where Randy Orton punts Brock Lesnar and Lesnar's out of action for a month. Who knows? I mean, this whole thing could go in several different ways. It's really hard to say how WWE will handle this news and if it will change Brock Lesnar's push in WWE now, and if they'll continue to invest in him as a monster. I mean, this just throws everything upside down and just changes the whole Brock Lesnar situation completely, potentially. And speaking of Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton, this question was sent in before this news came out from Robert. With Lesnar coming out of the UFC with the win, do you see Lesnar destroying Orton similar to his one-sided match against Cena? Even before this news came out about Brock Lesnar, I would say that the match at SummerSlam is still going to be back and forth, and if it does happen, I expect it to be very close. I mean, Randy Orton is still one of WWE's top stars, and I would expect him to have a very strong showing against Brock Lesnar, whether Lesnar is in favor with WWE or not. It's going to be a very back and forth match, and I was not expecting it to be one-sided, and definitely not expecting it to be one-sided now. If the match does happen as scheduled, here's what I think. It should be a crazy-ass match. I mean, it will be a huge brawl. They're going to beat the crap out of each other, and you'll see all the kickouts. You'll see it go back and forth. F5 countered into an RKO. Maybe Randy Orton jumps off. Hey! These cats are really destined to interrupt every single damn video I do here. Who do you see getting drafted first, and to what show? I think that SmackDown will probably get the first draft pick since the emphasis is on SmackDown and trying to make that show equal to Raw. Now, as far as who the first draft pick is, I would have said Roman Reigns before the suspension. Now I'm not so sure. I could see it being John Cena because he is the current Babe Ruth of WWE. It used to be Hulk Hogan, but now you could say it's John Cena for today's WWE, and he's becoming an all-time legend in the company. I could see him being the first draft pick. I could see WWE Champion Dean Ambrose being the first draft pick. I think it'll be a babyface. It could be Brock Lesnar, could be Randy Orton, but it would make sense for it to be a top babyface. It always could be AJ Styles or Seth Rollins, but Shane McMahon is going to pick a babyface. Maybe Stephanie will get the first pick, and she'll go with AJ Styles or Seth Rollins, probably Seth Rollins. So any one of the people I just mentioned, I think, are possible candidates to be the first draft pick. Got this one here from @JHCamper. Is it possible Vince being down on Roman is just a big swerve to help sell the idea of Roman's redemption being better? That's always a possibility. There have been times in the past where WWE has leaked out stories to purposely get something out there on the internet that is the exact opposite of what's really happening. Basically, WWE working the internet. It has happened in the past, and that could be the case here. Although I really doubt WWE is clever enough to do something like that. It would potentially work, though. If fans feel that Vince is souring on Roman Reigns, maybe they'll start liking Roman Reigns. That could be the mentality. So it's really hard to say how accurate that is, if it's legitimate or if it's exaggerated or if it's just a blatant swerve to get fans to start cheering for Roman Reigns. It's still going to be an uphill battle, even if this was a swerve. Even if Vince is really down on Roman, regardless of the case, it's still going to be an uphill battle because Roman Reigns has been getting booed for so long, and I think that fans just do not want to see him in that top babyface role. They do not want to see him doing the John Cena 2.0 face of the company, not a bad guy, not a good guy, the guy. Fans want to see something different. That's the bottom line. So if WWE really wants fans to start liking Roman more, maybe change up the character. I mean, it's a simple solution, but will the company do it? Who knows? This one comes from Yosef. What have been your overall thoughts on the John Cena AJ Styles feud thus far? I think it's been a good storyline. I like it better than Cena versus Owens just because WWE is taking it slower and we're not getting the immediate John Cena AJ Styles rematch, which they did with Cena and Owens. And they literally just announced a second match right after the first one concluded with no storyline reasoning behind it. It was dumb. At least here we're seeing a story with the club and John Cena and AJ going back and forth, and this idea that Cena feels that AJ cannot beat him without the club's help, and AJ feels he can beat Cena without the club's help. And there's at least some sort of storyline there, which is more than what we had for Cena and Owens. It was just Owens answering the U.S. challenger. I don't even think it was for the U.S. title. I'm trying to remember back. I mean, it was only a year ago, but I'm already forgetting things. I do not think it was for the U.S. title, and then afterwards they made it for the U.S. title. But it just wasn't much of a storyline with Cena and Owens. And this way we can let it play out a little bit and see how things go with it. Maybe have somebody else team up with John Cena. I know we have Enzo and Cass teaming up with him, but maybe Finn Balor will show up and help John Cena. I've talked about that before in other videos. We'll see where it goes. There's definitely plenty of time to continue developing this storyline and give it some time to breathe instead of just announcing a match after match and just doing like 3 or 4 matches and it not really having much of a storyline behind it. This one comes from Andrew. With Rowan and Strowman unlikely to get any push, could WWE use the brand split to allow Bray to finally get a singles run? I would prefer a breakup storyline. I think the Wyatt family being together for so long, and the fact that they're heels, I think that they would be defiant, and even if they got drafted to separate brands, they would still manage to stick together. They would bend the rules and go on other shows or whatever. I just sense that the Wyatts would do that, and that would be in line with their characters. So I would prefer for the Wyatt family to do an actual breakup storyline and have them turn on Bray or something like that so Bray can go babyface and then become a top babyface in the company. I think that would be a more effective way to get Bray off on his own rather than they just split because they had to and Bray's just a babyface by default. By actually doing an angle where they split, you can do an angle to have the rest of the Wyatt family turn on Bray and get him some sympathy with the crowd. This one comes from Mr. Yuck. Do you think Luke Harper will rejoin Wyatt or return as his own normal persona? I think a lot of that will have to do if WWE decides to keep the Wyatts together or split them up for the draft. If WWE decides to have the group split up, then of course Luke Harper would probably be best off just being repackaged and coming back with his own gimmick or something different, just a new take on his character. But if the Wyatts are sticking together for a while, then yeah, you could bring back Luke Harper and even have him be the leader. Maybe have him come back and brainwash the other two, Strowman and Rowan, and convince those two to turn on Bray, and then you can have Bray Wyatt versus Luke Harper's family for a while. You could do that storyline. So that's another reason to maybe keep them all in the same brand. You can do that split storyline and have Bray feud with Luke Harper, which would be a really interesting feud, I think, if done correctly. This one comes from Marcus S. Do you think that the last two pay-per-views have the women's champion wrestling and non-title tag matches devalues the titles a bit? Or devalues the title a bit? And the cat's meowing now. So I think the cat agrees on that doing these tag matches isn't really doing much for the women's championship. He definitely agrees on it. But here's the thing. The plan going back several months was to do Sasha Banks versus Charlotte for the women's title at SummerSlam. WWE had that planned, and basically we're just getting filler. WWE had Natalya feud with Charlotte for a couple months, and now we're seeing the tag team matches, and WWE's just trying to fill up time until SummerSlam when they do the big Sasha Banks Charlotte match in Brooklyn. I said it before. Charlotte should have dropped the title to Sasha Banks at WrestleMania. I think almost every video now. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. And they decided to wait until SummerSlam. And because of that, they had to drag things out. Sasha was even off television for a while. And yeah, the momentum definitely stalled. Sasha's momentum stalled, and Charlotte's really been just there. And the women's division as a whole has just been there. So hopefully, now that we got SummerSlam coming up, things will start to kick into high gear again with the women's division. Alright, got this one here from Jin Key. Hey Aaron, just watched the Cruiserweight Classic. Do you think NXT should have a Cruiserweight title? Could be the mid-card title for NXT. I think that if the Cruiserweight Classic goes over really well, and I mean so far it's getting rave reviews, people are really into it, and I like the whole look of it with the ring and the colors, and I like Ronaldo and Brian on commentary, and so does the cat. I like the fact that it's something different and it has a little bit of a different feel to it. It feels more like a sport, and the in-ring action has been really solid. So it is a nice alternative to the alternative of NXT, which is an alternative to WWE. Now, if it draws huge numbers on the network, tons of people are watching it. We do not have the numbers yet, but if a lot of people watching Cruiserweight Classic and it generates a huge buzz, continues to generate a huge buzz, then yeah, maybe WWE will consider implementing the Cruiserweight title into NXT. I could see that as a possibility. This one comes from Sean T. Flick. Who do you see getting to the main roster first? Samoa Joe or Nakamura? I think at this point it will be Samoa Joe, since he's been in NXT longer. I think that will be the main reason. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I sound like a broken record here. Both guys should be on the main roster right now. Both guys could be top stars on the main roster. I could see WWE waiting a couple more months. I could see Nakamura winning the title at the NXT Brooklyn pay-per-view, and then Samoa Joe comes to the main roster, and then maybe early 2017 we see Nakamura debut on the main roster and drop the title to Bobby Roode or somebody like that. That is at least my prediction at this time. I think Joe will come in first, maybe after SummerSlam weekend, and then Nakamura early 2017, maybe even as late as right after WrestleMania, but hopefully not longer than that. Hopefully Nakamura debuts before this time next year. I mean, let's really hope for that. This one comes from Joshua. What did you think of Mark Madden on commentary in WCW? I thought he was quite funny at times. I thought he was annoying for the most part. I missed Bobby Heenan. I think Mark Madden was a huge step down from Bobby Heenan, and I think Mark Madden would even admit that. Nobody can fill the shoes of Bobby Heenan, and that's what Mark Madden basically was doing. He was replacing Heenan on commentary. And to me, the best thing he did was get beat up by Tank Abbott when Tank ripped off his shirt and just beat the crap out of him. That was the most entertaining thing that Mark Madden was ever involved in WCW. And, you know, he would do the shoot comments all the time, the worked shoot comments, whatever you want to call them. You know, he would agree with Scott Steiner when Steiner said that DDP needed a sex change operation, and Madden would just go off on DDP and side with Steiner. So he had a few moments, but mainly it was just the whole idea of Madden just doing the work to shoot comments and trying to be like Bobby Heenan with the comedy. You know, he did have his moment with the spinner Rooney. I mean, he came up with that for Booker T, and you know, going crazy over Stacy Keibler. Easy for me to say. He had his moments, but was not a guy who could fill the shoes of Bobby Heenan. All right, I apologize for that. That was the last question anyways. The cats just like to get involved. If you want to see more of the cats, go to youtube.com/AaronRift. Check out the videos. I have tons of cat videos on there of them doing all sorts of wacky stuff. Got other videos, travel videos, video game videos, Mario Maker videos, you name it. Go to youtube.com/AaronRift. And of course, this is the YouTube channel for wrestling, youtube.com/AaronRift NoDQ. Make sure you subscribe to both channels and stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest regarding the draft and Battleground, which is just 2 weeks away now. Actually, only a week away now. It's right upon us here. So, NoDQ.com, your source for all that, and I will see you guys next time.